Hello, everybody. Lucy would like to say hello. Look how big she's getting. She's such a big girl. She's a very naughty girl. I picked her up because she was getting into the waste paper basket for the second time in like 3 minutes. But we love her. Anyway, she's going to go back down there and run around and scratch people, aren't you? She's a doll, but she is all kitten. Okay, you go down. Well, today's little video is going to be something I promised you I was going to look at. Oh, now she's spinning my spinning wheel. All right. Remember this basket that I got? This basket is 11 by 11 inches. And I wanted to make a Wonky Star, a quilted Wonky Star pad that would sit perfectly in the bottom of it. Because I've been putting this in it, but this is like 15 by 15. It's a old napkin. It's very pretty. I love the roses. It's a little stained, as you can see. But, of course, aren't we all if we're over 30 years old? Anyway, it's too big, and so I'm going to make something that fits. So I'm using Kate Jackson's pattern, and I'm going to link the video up here that she did, and it's only been a couple of weeks ago that she did this. She is making a whole quilt out of it, but I only need one star, so this should not take any time at all. I say with confidence it'll probably take me a couple of days. But let me show you what I've done so far. I've just cut the little pieces out, okay? Well, when I went looking in my fabric drawer, I found some of this beautiful blueberry fabric. This is a big piece, actually, from the scraps that my friend Pat gives me. But it's big enough. I really only need little pieces. I need 9 blocks that are each 3.5 by 3.5. So the center one is going to be this. I'm not going to do anything to it, just leave it as it is. And then I've got 8 blocks that go around this piece, and we're going to be working on them. Now, I've never done this before, so please see these. Let me lay these out. Don't know if my camera is going to be in the way a little bit, probably so. Let me move this down. So, because I'm just learning about this, I'll explain it in a way that will make sense to me. Kate's made so many of these, and she's such a good quilter that it makes perfect sense to her. I think I have one extra of these. I don't need one of them. Anyway, so how the Wonky Star works is that you're going to make a star with this fabric, and into the north, south, east, and west, I guess you could call it, into those ones, you're going to have these little points that come out, okay? And that's going to be your Wonky Star. And then these 4 in the corner, I'm going to leave them blank. She does something fun with them to tie them into other quilt squares on the quilt, but because this is my only piece, I'm just going to leave them blank for now. And so we're going to use some scrap fabric to make these little points, okay? And hope that made good sense. This yellow fabric is some fabric that a friend gave to me. She gave me lots and lots of 11 by 11 squares, actually. And I think sometime I'll make some kind of a quilt out of that. But for today, I'm using a little bit of this fabric for this star. Okay, now I'm going to be stopping and starting Kate's video to get, oh, there's a piece of my lunch, to get the instructions for this. Here's a little piece I had left over from cutting the center square, and I was hoping maybe it would be enough, but it's not quite long enough. I'm going to want a piece that will overlap the center here, and it really needs to get up pretty high here, and this one would only go to there. It wouldn't be a very long point, okay? So I'm going to put that piece aside and use some of this longer fabric and get my star points from there. So like this would work much better. There's like about the middle. This one will come a lot higher, okay? So let me see exactly what she does before I start sewing and cutting. Okay, now I think what I'm supposed to do, here's the square. I take my contrasting fabric and I lay it, and it's called wonky because you don't have to be utterly precise. But I want it to go somewhere, I think, around the middle and overlap. And then I want it to come somewhere close to this corner, but not all the way to the corner. And then I'm going to sew, I'm assuming maybe a 1/4 of an inch seam, whatever, here, okay? And then we're going to trim off our excess and see if that was right. Okay, I'm going to dash to the sewing machine and come back. I'm not going to move you back and forth to the sewing machine if that's all right. Okay. Okay. Now, the reason I'm struggling with this a little bit is because in Kate's video, she doesn't actually have a close-up of her doing this particular part. So notice how I have the right side going down. Then you're going to fold this over. Okay. And then I'm going to take my scissors and cut away all this extra. Now, if you hear noises in the background, that is just Lucy getting after her tail, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to cut off. These are not my best fabric cutting scissors. So I'm cutting off. Now, you could also use a little rotary cutter to do this, but she said it's just easier with this. If I had my good scissors over here, I would use them. All right, now let's put that away. Now you see what we've got. Aha, we've got a point. That's a wonky point. And then she also trims away this underneath fabric to eliminate bulk. You could say that as a scrap. This is not nice fabric that I need to do that with. And I'm going to wait and press these after I get them all done. Now I'm going to do another one over here, I believe. Yes, I'm going to do each one of these the same way. Oh, somebody's trying to get my blueberry fabric. Wonder who that would be. One thing that Kate does show, and is careful to say, is to make sure, I better use a different piece here. Make sure when you start your second point on this yellow square, to make sure that this overlaps, not just touches, but it has to actually overlap so that there's not any yellow showing. And then I'll have the point come somewhere out there. Okay, and again, I'll sew. Now I'm just doing, I think it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That's not right. I don't want it that way. I want it this way. Is that right? Yes. Yes. Sorry about that. See, this is why this is not a tutorial. Because then when I do that seam, it'll come back this way. Okay. Now, so I'm going to make sure these seams overlap, but I don't want to go all the way to the corner there. I want to be a little bit shy of the corner. All right, let's go try this. Maybe I'll do them all and bring you back. I thought I might go over this one more time. I've done 2 of them, and I always seem to get a little confused. Can you start to see the Wonky Star coming out? So here's my next yellow square. And you need a straight edge, so I'm not going to use this edge of this fabric. I'm going to use the side edge. Put your right sides together. This doesn't really have a right side, but put right sides together. And then you're going to place your fabric over the part of the square where you don't want your point. Your point's going to go here. Okay, so I kept on wanting to place it this way, but you don't do it that way. You do it this way. Because then when you sew this seam, you're going to fold it over and the point will be over here. Okay, so I thought I would just mention that again in case you get a little confused like I did. So you're going to have this, the point is actually going to be exposed here until you get your seam run, fold it over, use this edge to cut off any excess, and then your point will be there. Okay. So here I am back again. On this one, I ran up too high in my enthusiasm, but here's the part I sewed on. Then you pull it over. This one will be quite wonky. And then you flip it, and this is where you do your trimming. a good thing it's called a Wonky Star, because that way, if you're doing it for the first time and it turns out bad, you can just say it's supposed to be wonky. Cut off this so you don't have bulk underneath. Okay, and there's your next point. And now I will take this, lay it this way, and sew my next seam so I can flip that over and have my next point over here. Okay, now it's ironing time, and I have a convenient little old family napkin here I can use. Now I want to be sure to iron the seam allowance toward the blueberries, because the yellow fabric, as you can see, is pretty light and you can see other fabric through it, and I just don't want that dark under fabric. I bought this little iron. I do not iron clothing. Never, never, never. I just don't. But I do iron when I sew. Isn't that crazy? And so I don't know if this one's going to work. This one is quite wonky and puckery. It's only from my little snack basket. What can I say? Or meal basket. Meal tray. So if it doesn't... See, all the rest of them are lying nice and flat. I think I did something wrong to that one. Okay. All right. Turn that off. All right, now there's our center. I'm overlapping them a little bit so they'll look a little bit like they will later. So there's the Wonky Star. Oh, that really works. Wow. Okay. And then we'll just make sure to put these 4 in the corners. I do think that yellow and blue go nicely together. Okay, so now the thing is to sew these pieces together. I'm not a quilter, but I'll sew panels of 3 and then I'll sew those together. Let's do that. Okay. Okay. Center panel, 2 side panels. Now I will sew this all the way down and then sew that all the way down. And now a little bit more ironing. I may stop using a waste paper basket in my studio until Lucy is older, because it's never upright, ever. Neither is the one in the dining room. It's not very hot. And we don't really put things in them anymore because they don't stay in there. You find, and I'd never put Kleenex in there because Bobo used to take them out and shred them up, but now Lucy just carries them around the house. Bless her heart. But she carries everything around the house. If you put leftover tape in there, if you put a napkin in there, if you put any kind of plastic in there, it is all over the house. Okay, let's see what we think. Now, there's the square, but there's still so much work to be done, and I think this is why quilting is difficult, because people love to make squares. That's the fun part. But then you have to get a back, and you have to put an edge on it, but we're going to persevere, and I'd like to get this done this afternoon. Now, I would like to have no batting in this, and so I'd really like to have a backing fabric that is kind of sturdy and thick, and I have a whole drawer full of this kind of stuff. It's more like, it's like upholstery fabric. Now, these two are not very complementary, but they're never going to be shown together. It'd be nice to have something I could flip over. So I think I will use this. So if I want to flip it over, I can. I'm not sure what I think about that yellow, honestly, but we'll just put this on the back. And I have some leftover border. What do we call that? The band around the outside the border? Is that what it is? Boy, can you tell I'm not a quilter? I don't know even the terminology. And I'm going to put that on there. The next step now that I have these two wrong sides together is to go quilt bit so that this will hold together nicely. So I'm going to go do that. Well, that was easy peasy. I kind of stitched around the points of the star is all the quilting I did. I tried to stay really close to the seam with varying degrees of success, but it's okay. And then I also went all the way around. Now, the band for the outside that I have is left over from one of the log cabin quilts I made, I think. And I kind of like it because it's got the blue, it's got the yellow. Now you can see why it's called a Wonky Star. This point is this short and this point is this long. They just really vary, but it gives it its charm. I really like that. I would not want to do a star that was absolutely precise. I would love to do a whole quilt with this. This was really fun. I did another video. See, and that's not a bad blend of fabrics either. I did another video on how to put the border on here correctly because I did it badly so many times. And so I'm going to put a little link up here for that, and you can go watch that if you like, but I'm going to go put this border on. But first I have to go watch my own video and remind myself how in the world I did it because I have no idea. Vague recollections is all. So I'll bring you back in a minute. For those of you who are not avid seamstresses and who don't quilt very often, I thought I would just show you this binding. It's not a border, it's not a band, it's a binding. This is leftover binding that I made, and I learned how to do the slanted join, which was nice. Anyway, I've put this on the front side and done little mitered corners, and now I'm going to turn it. And also, before I turn it, of course, I have to join it up over here. I've left lots of extra room so I can do another diagonal join and get this together. Then I'm going to turn it all and give it one more seam run in the ditch here, and we'll be done. Yeah, that's just, with that fabric on the back, it's just the weight I want. It's not bulky, but it has enough heft to it that it'll lie flat in that basket. So let me go finish up this join and finish up the binding, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the basket. This is me watching my own video so that I can remember how to do that join. Ta-da! There it is. There it is, such as it is. I'm pretty pleased. Now, as usual, the binding was my nemesis. This is where the join was. I had to think hard about that so that I didn't get it twisted the wrong way like I did last time, which you can go watch in the video. But I did a terrible job. It's later in the afternoon and I'm tired. I'll give that as my excuse. But I do love this binding method because the corners end up so pretty. They really do. Let me see if I can get that to where you can see it. Isn't that nice? And I don't think I know it's not my sewing skills. I know it is the method. All right, now let's get the basket. See how we did. Oh, it's a little small, but better too small than too big. You know, this is something I might try again. I have plenty of fabric. It's a very fun little exercise. If I got good at this, I wonder if I could sell them at the market. Don't I always say that? Isn't it a terrible thing to say? Well, so here is my little basket liner. There you go. That was a quick, 2-hour project? You should give it a try. And now it'll be, oh goodness, that is wonky right there, isn't it? It'll be ready for breakfast tomorrow morning and lunch tomorrow. This will be great. Yeah, I might try it again and see if I can get it to fill up the edge. I might make a new binding that will go all the way to the edge. Just keep the star the same size. I like the blueberries though, don't you? All right, whoops. Oh, let's see the other side. Oh, not too bad. So that's this week's project. I'll see you again next week. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.